Welcome to Rogue Bogues. This is episode 11. A lot to talk about today. How you going, Pro? What's news?
Not much, Bogues. Just one day at a time, my friend. Just another day in paradise.
You enjoying this All-Star break? You going for a vacation?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna sunbathe outside and
Scare off the kids.
Hopefully I don't smell hot bacon by the time I'm done with it. So that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know if you just saw, but real quick, the NBA has sent, I don't know what the number was. It was like 30, maybe it might even be over 100 cease and desist letters to local night spots in Atlanta using the NBA's image and logo.
Of course.
Yeah, it's bad.
So what are they doing? Trying to do parties and stuff?
I assume so. I assume parties, strip clubs, working girls, whatever. I mean, it's a tough time with COVID. The NBA should just give them a pass in Atlanta. You know, those girls need to make their money. There's not a lot of flights flying in there, so it'll help the local economy, I think.
Do they get bailout checks and things and like no interest loans, or what's the deal on that?
I have no idea, but yeah, hopefully it helps the local industry there. The NBA All-Star Weekend usually on a normal year outside of COVID brings in a lot of Instagram models and influencers and the like. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, we have some good news. I received a pretty funny email from a fella that runs Pod Status, so Pro.
Okay.
Rogue Bogues, our last 30 days, check this out. We're position 4 in the category of sports in Estonia. We're position 6 in the category of sports in Korea, the Republic of. So these are all category of sports. We're number 6 in Lithuania, number 7 in the United Arab Emirates, number 9 in Australia, according to Pod Status, number 10 in Egypt, number 14 in Nigeria, number 21 in Finland, number 35 in Hungary, and number 36 in Qatar. So kind of random. I didn't think we had fans out there, but it's good to see some countries that I've never even visited following the pod.
You sure this isn't one of those guys who said he's the Prince of Qatar and he wants you to give you a social security number and, in exchange you'll get better ratings?
It could be. I haven't sent him anything yet.
Okay, just ask.
But Pod Status, I guess, is a pretty known kind of podcast view counter, I guess. But, who knows these days? But it's kind of a random email to send with some random country, like number 4 in Estonia. Fantastic. Hopefully there's more than 4 sports shows.
Any coaching jobs in Estonia, I'm on the first boat out, so just let me know.
Yeah, that was a little bit of good news to start the podcast with. It's always good to get a little pat on the back from some random countries that we've never been. So thank you for everyone out there listening. And we need to get the US up there, man. We're not getting enough US listeners. I'm blaming you for that because I'm here in Australia. You're the US kind of correspondent. What's going on?
I mean, look, I'm out of work. No one talks to me anyway. No one calls me. I mean, what did you expect? I mean, the price is right. I think I'm paying you to be on this podcast. So, I mean, if you were trying to get someone who could influence, besides the donut shop, I don't think I'm influencing anybody.
That's why you're here, Pro. That's why I love you, man. Like the Australians love you. Good banter, but you're not a influencer type that I'm just putting on to try and create numbers because of your influence in the community. Let's leave it that way. I like it as it is. But let's get rolling. Some big news out of Atlanta over the week. Lloyd Pierce fired. Not a great coaching record. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm sure you do, but fill us in on what went down there.
Well, Bogues, this is, it has a lot of layers to it. Like right on top, Lloyd went 65 and 120, over his two and a half years in Atlanta. And, we're going to get into this later in the podcast with young coaches that had no coaching experience taking their first NBA job. But it's a tough job, especially when you're going to rebuild. And in my opinion, like you can't win games with mediocre talent. You can win games with mediocre coaching. It's done all the time. But mediocre talent, and I'm not saying mediocre because they do have players that put up numbers that are decent players. But when you don't have great talent, it's really hard to win games. They built around a young nucleus of Trae Young, DeAndre Hunter, Kevin Huerter, John Collins, guys like that. Then they brought in a bunch of veterans like Bogut Bogdanovic, Rajon Rondo, Gallinari. They brought in. They also brought in Chris Dunn,
Capella.
Most of which, Capella, in a trade last year, and a lot of the guys were out a substantial amount of time. Those young guys really they don't influence winning yet. And there was a big article written in the Athletic. players basically sounding off against, shocker, a coach is already out the door that they're going off on, and they're not speaking highly of him. One player was quoted saying, "I thought I was getting picked on." He wasn't all that positive. Now, look, the record speaks for itself in a sense. That's not a great record. The owner wanted to win this year. I get it. The expectation was a little higher than what they did. But with the young players, Trae Young and Lloyd Pierce, I guess they didn't have a great relationship. Look, I've known Lloyd a long time. He's a good basketball mind. I mean, his sort of journey to get in the NBA is a very tough one. Didn't play in the NBA, played with Steve Nash in Santa Clara. He was a development coach in Golden State, from Golden State to Cleveland to Memphis, and then he becomes an assistant coach with Philly. I actually tried to get Rick Carlisle to hire him when we were trying to look for an assistant, and some negotiations were sort of stalemated, and I tried to have him call Philly, and we actually did call Philly and asked for permission to talk, but it was just dragging too much, and we ended up hiring another guy. I think he's a good coach. The problem is when you don't have a lot of talent and your veterans that you're supposed to help you were out, it's really hard to win. And then when the young players saying he was picking on me, no, that's called coaching. Like Lloyd's I spent a lot of time with Lloyd over the last 10 years or so, and the guy's dedicated to coaching. He's going to tell you the truth. He's going to try to get the best out of you. The record wasn't great. I think in a competition committee meeting, he sort of brought up the bullshit shots that fouls that Trae Young gets, and basically speaking in the whole as the, competition committee about, hey, can we stop these calls? This is what I don't like. And he mentioned Trae Young's name, and that's probably not the best thing to do because that's going to get back to him when you're saying something that they're not sort of positive about your own player, and it gets out to other people. So there were some other things, but
yeah, but there's
it's
an
tough,
argument
man.
probably that if you're in those coaches' meetings and you use your own player, then it doesn't look like there's probably that mindset. Maybe his strategy with that was, I'm not going to use another team's player because it looks like I'm bitching. Like if I use James Harden, we need to stop the sweep through. James Harden's killing the game. It looks like kind of sour milk to an extent. So maybe his mindset was, I'm going to use an example of my own player. Like it wasn't maybe as personal. Like that's
no.
But I agree with you. Like it gets back to Trae Young, and now you're in a posturing type thing with your best player.
Yeah, and look, he's a player's coach. He communicates. He's very well, he's very well organized. The guy's dedicated. He's not gonna bullshit you. He's not into tomfoolery with like me. A lot of times we went to China a bunch with Nike, and I crack jokes and stuff. He just sort of chuckle, but he's a serious guy. He takes himself serious, takes his job serious. But again, with mediocre talent, and that's what they have right now. Like they don't have it's hard to influence winning when you're a young player. Larry Bird did it. LeBron James did it too. Steve Nash did it. Jason Kidd did it, where basically they were that one defining factor of why their team sort of got a turnaround. And Trae Young and Hunter, and you talk to all the scouts that watch their games, and they say the same thing. Look, they put up points. They don't know how to win yet. But the probably was saying, look, I'm getting my brains beat in financially anyway. We spent all this money in free agency. I get sort of what they're trying to do. What I would have done is I would have probably given them to the end of the year. Those guys are getting healthy. Let them play together and figure out. But they probably figured they got Nate McMillan right there. They got to right the ship. They got to try to get in the playoffs. But they're pretty close to still being in the playoffs. I think they're only a game out of 10th, which isn't great. But I don't know. It's tough, man. I mean, if you're going to make the call to fire the guy, you got the record, you get the players quitting on him, But as young players, at some point, you got to look in the mirror and say, look, it's, when the coach is poking, it's like bringing my name up in film sessions. He's trying to fix what I'm doing wrong. And he's trying to correct me so I can get better. But young players, man, that's why in the high school level, AAU level, a lot of college, nobody wants to correct them because they don't want them to transfer or quit on them. And that's why young players, when they get into the NBA for the most part, when people start trying to coach them and point out things that they do wrong, they don't take it well. Not everybody, but a big percentage. And it is what it is, though. It's a tough job. We'll get into it later in the podcast when we talk about, young coaches and, people who walk into jobs that are winning teams versus assistants with no coaching experience that walk into rebuild jobs, and how hard it is to get to that, to sort of turn the corner with your job. But it's a tough decision, man.
I mean, I agree somewhat. I think the East is just so, I wouldn't say it's bad. It's so, I think fourth or fifth, which we'll talk about a bit later, is just on 500. So you're right. I think Atlanta's, if you're 10 games behind 500, you're still in the mix in the East. So my opinion is it must have been really toxic and bad, where, let's be honest, it comes down to Trae Young's the number one opinion you'd ask about keeping your coach on that the GM will go to.
Yeah.
And he's obviously said, he's obviously clearly said, I want him out of here. He's gone. But yeah, they are, they're close to the playoffs. Gallinari, Rondo, they've had injuries. They've had different lineups and whatnot. So the argument can be made to let him finish the year and then we move on. But I think it's probably got to a point where, like you said, I think guys have tuned him out. It's a bit toxic in that locker room. And I think the ownership and the GM, who I know the GM very well. I was in Golden State when I was there. I probably just said, hey, we need to push the reset button and playoffs aren't important this season. Let's rebuild, get to a good off season. And look, Nate McMillan's, this is what I don't understand. Like if you're Trae Young and that, Nate McMillan's probably even more of a disciplinarian than Lloyd Pierce.
He is. He's tough.
Nate doesn't fuck around.
No.
I believe Nate was in Portland a number of years ago, right? And
yeah, he was in Seattle first, then Portland, then Indiana. I mean, he's well-traveled.
So Jamal McGlaw got traded. My rookie year, we moved Jamal McGlaw in the off-season, and he went to Portland. And I was really close. He was my veteran. Jamal really looked after me. He was a really, really, really good to me, being an international guy, and looked after me, especially away from the floor. And I caught up with him. I remember we were coming to shoot around one morning, about to play him, and you know how the teams cross paths. They worked out before us or after us or whatever it was, and we walked off the court. They walked on. And I remember talking to Jamal, and he was like, he hated it there because Nate had a rule where there was no phones on the buses. So you weren't allowed to be on your phone on the bus. So he tried to influence guys talking to each other and whatnot. And that's just that couldn't be done today. This was in 2006-07. But he was strict and he had his rules and there was no messing around. I remember Jamal, within earshot of Nate, was like, man, I'm in jail right now. I need to get out of jail. It's just, so, these young kids are going to be in for a big surprise once good old, you know how it is when you're an assistant coach and you got to kind of be good cop to when the coach is bad cop, and you keep your head up, he's being a bit hard on you, but don't worry about it. You'll get your chance, blah, blah, blah. Now that relationship changes with a Trae Young and Nate. Now Nate's going to be putting out those film sessions even more, I think.
Bogues, were you ever around a team that sort of gave up on their coach and just sort of started tuning the coach out? I mean, you've been in a bunch of teams on different levels. Like, have you ever been around that to a higher extent? Yep.
No doubt. I think my second year in the league, we fired Terry Stotts and Larry Procopio got promoted, which seemed like a good thing at the time. And he took over and did a decent job for the rest of that season, similar to the position Nate's in. And then he tried to put the triangle in and guys weren't really buying into that back then. And yeah, by the first, basically, it felt like training camp preseason back then was a month. It felt like after that, guys had already been like, yeah, lame duck coach. He's on a minimum coach's salary. Yeah, I'm not going to listen to him. And he was gone within the year. We spoke about that last year about a coach that takes over mid-season, not surviving when we're discussing Minnesota, and that was Larry Kosoviak. Ended up going back to the University of Utah. But yeah, it sucks. And it seems to always kind of be the small markets. I'm not sure why. I mean, because they kind of have to take risks at times that big markets don't. And yeah, it can screw you up for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it's hard. And Lloyd's going to get another job. I did a coaching study for the last 10, 15 years on head coaches being hired. And it's very low percentage of coaches only get one chance of coaching in the NBA, as long as you're not around a scandal or just had a totally destructive one season, which he didn't have. I mean, he had 2.5 years. I think he did the best job that, look, John fucking Wooden wouldn't win there. You could have John Wooden, Phil Jackson, any coach. You could put fucking coach after coach, after coach, the top 20 coaches of all time. I've seen coaches a year that were great coaches that have great records because they have great players, and they're good coaches, don't get me wrong. When they don't have talent, they get their teeth kicked in just like anybody else. I don't care how many fucking tricky plays you got. I don't care how many Coach of the Year awards you got. If you don't have talent, you're not going to win. And they had okay talent. I'm not saying they had terrible talent, but they don't have the young players to influence winning. And then the players that's supposed to influence winning that they sign in the offseason were hurt for a lot of the time that they had. So it's really tough. I think one thing that he could probably take from this is the mistakes he's made, because with young assistants with no head coaching experience in the NBA, you don't get any experience. I don't care a fuck how many summer leagues you coach. I don't care about how many plays you put in practice. Until you're the actual head coach running this shit with NBA fucking egos and NBA players, it's hard, man. And usually it's the first job that sort of gets you through that learning curve, and he'll probably have to be an assistant somewhere, and then he'll come back. He'll definitely be a head coach again, in my opinion. It's just going to take some time.
It's a matter of time, yeah. We're interested to see how that goes. I guess the other reason why we brought this up is our old boss and coach of the Dallas Mavericks, who is the head of the Coaches Association. His comments to me were absolutely unbelievable in regards to Lloyd Pierce's firing. So for those that don't know, Lloyd Pierce was very, very active in the Atlanta community in Georgia, and does a lot of things with poorer communities there and social justice. And, he's a big proponent of helping his community. And he was really heralded for doing that the last couple of years. It's been well noted in the media, and did a fantastic job of different things in helping his community. There's some coaches that get involved, there's some that don't. He probably did way more than he was required to. And the comment from Rick Carlisle reads like this. It's, the NBCA president, Rick Carlisle, on Lloyd Pierce's insane firing in Atlanta. Georgia, in a very large part because of Lloyd's work and commitment, went from being a traditional Republican state to a Democratic state, which has massively changed the landscape of our country. And I read that, man, and I almost threw up on my breakfast when I was reading it on Hoops Hype. What the hell does that have to do with coaching? We spoke about this last week to an extent with the Minnesota hiring and firing and debacle there in the media, and a bit of racial tension there and whatnot. Now you're saying that a coach can't get fired based on his coaching performance if he does all the right things off the floor. That's not how things work. It'd be the equivalent of hiring someone to do that community work, and their coaching record is 90%, but they're not doing the community work. You're going to fire them for the community work. I can't get my head around how someone. One, I don't think Rick made that quote. I'd bet my house that it wasn't him. It's someone that I'd probably know who it is. I'd probably feel pretty comfortable knowing who wrote that it wasn't him that said it. He got that written for him and said it. But just the gall to come out with a political take about a coach's firing, to me, bro, that's sickening to me. And if that's where we're going, whether it's Democrat or Republican or left, right, middle, I don't give a shit. I don't want to hear that someone was fired but did all this great political work, whatever spectrum they're on. It should have no bearing on your performance. I mean, what do you think about all that?
Well, I think a couple of things. The first thing is I talked about last week about intent versus perception. I think the intent, because anytime a coach gets fired, you hear from two people. You hear from the Coaches Association, and you hear from Jeff Van Gundy for about 6 weeks on any telecast that he's on, any TV fucking cast that he's on. He's like, a coach could be like he could be ripping the heads off of puppies, and Jeff Van Gundy's going to be standing up and saying, "Wait a minute, he was 2 in 12,000. He was caught, he's caught murdering puppies, but he should never have gotten fired." But no, seriously, so you definitely going to hear something. And I think the intent was to back up Lloyd Pierce and wrong firing, shouldn't have got fired. But I was waiting for a basketball reason why he shouldn't have got fired, because, that's the first thing. I thought, I think he was trying to back him up, or the association's trying to back him up. But I was expecting something basketball, his development, not enough time, injuries. He's a great coach, good, high character, what have you. Now, the second thing is, if I'm in the Coaches Association, and the Coaches Association is saying this, and I'm not a big timer. Say I'm say I'm a third assistant on some small market team that I have zero chance of being a head coach. But I'm not political. Just say I'm not political at all. And now I'm hearing the head of the Coaches Association say that, and I'm saying, wait a minute, now I need everything to go right for me to have any chance to be a head coach. Do I try to impress and get people to back me up if I start, being an advocate towards, being political on, on the Democratic side, because that's the side that they're obviously coveting. And then also, if I'm no one will ever admit this, but if I'm a Republican, do I have to change the way I think because of the fact, if it ever gets out, that they're not going to support me? And I'm sure that's not the case, but that's the perception I would have. Like if I was a big timer, it didn't matter. Like if I'm a big time assistant or another head coach that I know I'm going to be employed for 30 years, it doesn't matter. That's one thing. But if you're saying that, and it's obvious that they're supporting, they're supporting the left side, by saying those comments, I'll be saying if I'm a small time guy or a lady that's on a staff, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Now, how am I going to react to this if I'm not political? And I don't really, I'm sort of in the middle, and I'm not a really big political person. Or do I have to go against my beliefs? Or if I am political and I'm on the right, or is that the right side? I'm not all that political. If I'm a Republican, do I have to change the way that I think just to get support? To basically, because these guys are the ones who are talking to GMs a lot besides my agent. And, am I supposed to change the way I think to get sort of in good favor with the people that are going to help me get a job? So it'd be a little bit confusing for sure if I was in that association.
Oh man, I'm asking for a refund if I'm in that association. I'm paying my union fees to Rick Carlisle as my president. I'm not paying one more due till he's gone. That is bullshit. Plain and utter bullshit. You can't, like you said, this isn't a political conversation, but I'll bet my house there's some Republican coaches that, you just go by the numbers. If you think the whole of the NBA leans one way or leans the other way, you're an idiot. Now, there's an argument to be made that there's some that are probably closeted because they're not allowed to come out and say they're Republican. That's an issue in itself, in my opinion. You should be free to say you're for whatever political party you want in a free country, in a free world, right? But to have the president of your coaches association, that's an alarming statement, and that's a divisive statement. That, people always talk about equality and everyone should have equal opportunity. Well, you've basically just said if you're a Republican, so okay, if Lloyd Pierce is a Republican, what's the comment then? What's a comment? Oh, yep, we don't like it when coaches get fired, but his record was bad. Let's get on with things, and that's why it's there's an argument for that whole politics and sports gets muddy. This is a prime example of it, and for me, I don't want to throw stones at Rick Carlisle, but for him to be this now face of the progressive movement is interesting because I spent time with him and I had a different kind of feel for him when I was around that environment. I'm not saying anything crazy, but the extremes that he's going to with these comments, I didn't see that when I was around him on a daily basis. That's just me. That's my opinion, and that's kind of the dealings that I had. But I just think this is a very slippery slope. I don't like it. I hope that either someone has a conversation with Rick Carlisle from the coaches union, whoever's on that board, or some coaches get together because that's eventually going to end ugly for somebody, and it could potentially end in a lawsuit, could end in wrongful dismissal, could end in a bunch of different things, and you just don't want to. I just think that's the line you shouldn't cross.
Yeah, I don't really mix sports and I don't mix any business with politics. I think it's like you said, a slippery slope as far as a philosophy. I just sort of keep out of it and try to keep it separated, and just because it's such a powder keg subject on any front, to sort of mention any indications of that. So.
And then you got, like you said, you mentioned the exact same thing. I think at times you got people that are okay. I'm a head coach. I'm the third assistant. I want to be a head coach 1A. I need to toe the line. So if I don't really believe in, let's say the Democratic Party and what that means to the NBA and NBA players, I need to toe the line that I do to get a job. That's wrong. That is plain and simply wrong. And now you're encouraging people to be fake and to be, you don't believe in it, but publicly say you believe in it so you can be part of the boys club. Like, fuck that. I'm not rolling with that. And that's why, to an extent, I've copped some flack over there because everyone thinks I'm this right-wing nut job, which I don't think I am. People label me that all the time, but I'm also the anti-left progressive. I'm a great guy, but I know what you like behind closed doors. Like a lot of these people that make these public comments that I read, whether it's the NBA or celebrities, I've spent time with some of those people behind closed doors. I know what you're really like when the cameras are off. So don't give me that bullshit about that you're for the cause and you're progressive and all that when behind closed doors you treat people like absolute shit. So that's where I have an issue with this. But like you said, I just don't think it's good. If I'm on the coaches association, I'm paying my dues. I'm asking for a refund, and I'm not paying that next bill until something happens. But that's just me. But that leads us into talking about coaches that walked into really good teams, and obviously we know there's a bunch of coaches that walked into shit shows, and that hasn't fared well. But we did, you did a little bit of research, and we're going to talk about a few coaches that basically walked into good situations.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like if you go down we'll start with the East, like. Most coaches that take over jobs are going to take over losing situations. And the best jobs that are open in the offseason are usually taken by ex-head coaches. They're not going to entrust, not many organizations are going to entrust an assistant coach to take over a big-time situation unless, for the most part, you were an assistant under that head coach that got fired and they moved you on. So like Doc Rivers from Clippers to Philly, Steve Nash, Brooklyn, especially after, they had those two guys, they added a third with Harden. You go to Nick Nurse in Toronto, who was an assistant coach, took over the reins, and now is in a good situation. Even Nate Bjorken, that was an assistant in Toronto, took over in Indiana, a winning situation. You had Frank Vogel, who was out of coaching, got let go last in Orlando, going to the Los Angeles Lakers, and they were in a winning situation. You had Ty Lue, get into the Clippers situation, automatic championship conversation. You've got Steve Kerr, walked into a situation, Mark Jackson got let go. He takes over, no coaching experience.
Ding, ding,
Rick
ding.
Carlisle.
Give him the award for the all-time best opportunity walked into, man.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that because I was
Without
just
question.
on that team, but if you could walk into any
Without
team,
question.
especially coming from a commentary booth, Steve Kerr struck gold. So, yeah, go on.
And Rick Carlisle, when he took over in Dallas, they had most of the pieces in place and, to get to the championship. And it was a very good situation. But most of these situations, Bogues, like there was 9 openings last year. 5 were taken by veteran coaches. And then you had Steve Nash take over in Brooklyn, no coaching experience. And then the 3 coaches that didn't have coaching experience took over. I think there was like 5 openings the year before that, or 6 openings. And, half the team, most likely half the jobs are going to be filled by either head coaches that were fired or retreads, or somebody's going to come out of the booth that was coaching that coached 4 or 5 years ago and then gets a job. Most of these assistants that haven't coached, hasn't been a head coach previously, are going to have to take those jobs that you're going to have to rebuild. The Minnesotas, the Atlantas, the Charlottes, and for the most part, you have to be, most of these jobs, no one's hiring an assistant coach from a losing program. I had a head coach have a heart-to-heart with me about, a couple years ago about Mike. He goes, "Hey, how do I help my top assistant or second assistant get more love by trying to get to these head jobs?" I said, "You got to win more fucking games. No offense. You wanted to knock me the fuck out." And I was, for the first time in my life, I wasn't being an asshole. And I said, "Look, just do the research. All these guys that get jobs that are assistant coaches, Lloyd Pierce, second round, Philly, and they were starting to become a really good team. Quinn Snyder was an assistant for Atlanta when they were rolling. Budenhauser was an assistant for San Antonio for years. Brett Brown, assistant coach for San Antonio for years.
Luke Walton.
All these guys. Steven Silas is probably the only guy that got hired from a situation that didn't win a playoff series into an NBA organization that didn't come from like an automatic winner. Now, he was a finalist the last time Houston opened up and he lost out, and he's a very well-respected assistant coach. And they wanted him in the next time, that the job got open. But it's hard, man. And most of these assistant coaches, if you're an assistant coach and you're trying to get, look at Mike Brown. Mike Brown goes to Golden State because they're going to win championships, and it's a better chance for him to get a fourth chance at becoming a head coach. That's what they want. Tom Thibodeau, was an assistant for Houston for years, goes to Boston, they win a championship. Then he starts his journey as a coach. Mike Malone came from a winner. All these guys that get get coaching jobs come from winners. And then, sometimes it's a lot of times you hear flack from the media. Certain coaches are set up to fail. No, it's not like that. But if you're a big market team, you're going to hire, for the most part, an established coach that coached before, especially if you have a winning team and you're ready to go to a championship level. Like Spoelstra. Spoelstra walked into it a little bit, but he was an assistant for Miami for years.
Yeah, field coach.
And learned under Pat Riley. And in my opinion, he's the best coach in the league.
Yep.
and it's interesting. Pop, they weren't a winner, but they got Duncan his first year, and they already had David Robinson and the rest of the guys, and they built a winner. Like most of the time, if you're an assistant coach and you're going to take a job, it's going to be a losing situation. It's going to be you got to have to rebuild the thing. And you need an owner and a general manager that's behind you. You need a lot of luck. You need an owner that's going to spend. You need a general manager that knows how to bring in talent. You're going to have to bring in the right guys. They're going to have talent. They're going to have to build. You're going to have to sign veterans at some point and try to turn the corner. There's a lot of things. And if you look at these coaching jobs, I looked into not anyone who's coaching teams right now, but the 3 coaches that coached before them. So I studied 90 coaches. The tenure of an NBA head coach is 3.5 years. And Bogues, I'm going to ask you a question. Out of 90 coaches, how many coaches do you think, past coaches, how many coaches do you think coach past 10 years or more?
Oh, wow.
Out of 90.
Out of 90 on the same team or just in general as a head coach?
No, from that team had a tenure in one before they got fired or went to another job.
Oh, shit, it'd be less than 10.
1, Jerry Sloan, 22, maybe 23.
Yeah.
And then there was like Doc Rivers was close. In Boston, I think he had 9. George Carlisle had 8 in Denver. But most of these jobs, it's not going to end well. And that's why you got to build for the second. Sometimes you got to build for that second job. It's not like college where like you're a mid-major school, you win, and then you go to a bigger school. If you turn the corner in the NBA with your team, for the most part, the team's not letting you out, and you're not going to go anywhere. But then you get that team going, so you're gonna stick on with that team, and you're gonna go through with it. So these openings, most of the openings, there's a reason why the fucking job was open. They got fired, or not many teams you leave a head coaching job for a bigger head coaching job. It very rarely happens unless you get fired. It's a tough slope.
Yeah, and like you said, the coaches are somewhat set up walking into a job that is, it's a bad situation because it's a bad job. It's not. Yeah. There's no rocket science behind it. You're going into a bad situation. You better have your shit organized. You better be running good training sessions, good training camp, a good developmental program with your assistants. You better have every box ticked because that's a shitty situation for a reason. But one bit that you said, luck plays a part in it. It does. I'll give you an example. People probably wouldn't know this story, but Greg Popovich, Steve Kerr told this story, I believe. And in that year where was it the 99-2000 year, they had I think that was the year. They basically had a shitty start to the season, first 30 or 40 games, and I think they were 500 or below 500. And word got to Steve and the players through their agent that, hey, you guys have a game. I think it was Friday, Sunday. You're going to lose Friday, lose Sunday. If you lose Sunday, they're firing Greg on Monday. And then I guess they won Sunday. So the team's like, some of these teams, for people out there listening, they don't like firing a head coach after a win. I don't know. It just is what it is. They'll wait for a blowout just so it coincides with their, see, we fired him because he sucks kind of thing, right? So anyway, they go to this is the lockout year, I believe. They go to the Monday game. They win the Monday game. They fucking go on to win they go on a double-digit win streak. They win the next 15 of 20 or whatever it was. They win a championship. So it just goes to show you that margin for error, how now the Spurs are geniuses, the front office is, they're geniuses, and Buford's done everyone's done a great job. It was that close. It was that close to him being gone, and they end up winning a game, find their rhythm, and come back and win a championship. And now he's one of the greatest coaches of all time. But that's what Pro's talking about. You need that stroke of luck every now and then, that bounce of the ball or something to happen. And, that's just a story that I don't think many people would know.
Yeah, I hate that shit too. When I talk to scouts and stuff, word on the street, if he loses the next 2 in a row, he's fired. First of all, okay, so if he doesn't, you're going to fire him in the next game?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're going to fire...
So stupid.
Yeah, if you're going to fire a guy, fucking fire a guy. And then one more thing, and here's a big debate, Bogues, and there's no way... It's like fighting out what came first, the chicken or the egg. All right, who's to blame for a team? The coach or the general manager? And who takes credit? The general manager or the coach on how a team does? And it's first of all, I hate that credit blame shit. You're all in this together. But it is true that it's it's sort of a nuclear arms race to see who has the owner's ear like first, the coach or the general manager. And then I haven't seen many situations where it's like 50-50 and like somebody's got to like stand up for the other guy and they don't, and they just push the other guy off the ledge to keep their own job. Like that's the reality of the league. You know,
most times it's the GM that wins that battle because the GM's
because you're next to the owner for sure.
But all game, you're next to the owner. You're sitting there saying, "Why did he make that sub? Why hasn't he played this guy? Why are we having that coverage?" And you're in the owner's ear, and the owner's like, "Oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. Yep, the game is shit. My team sucks. I'm pissed off. He's telling me what I want to hear." And like you said, it's an arms race. And I've seen that so many times. It's an arms race. And that the GM, 9 times out of 10, is going to win that race. The coach is going to get fired. They're going to bring in their own guy. And then most smart owners don't give the GM another chance. I've seen GMs get a third chance to hire a coach, second, third chance. Most owners will then realize, hang on a second, like, this is our second going on third coach. Maybe you're the problem, and then they end up getting fired. But it usually takes a coach or two to fall before a GM does.
Yeah, like, I worked for Chris Wallace before, who was a GM of Boston and GM of Memphis when they had that run in the Western Conference Finals and things. And I loved him because he always, he wasn't one of those GMs that he got in the coach's ear about you had to run this set, you have to do this, you have to do that. He left the coach alone. He said, look, your coaching is yours. Development, all that stuff is yours. The draft, free agency is mine. I'm not going to fuck with you. Don't fuck with me or my stuff. I'll keep you in the loop on the front office things. And that's what I think it should be. It should be sort of a separate thing, but you guys are working together. Like I countless times when I was with Danny Ainge, he'd always back up his coaches. When there was a bad streak, I saw him, listen to him talk to owners. And he backed things up, backed Doc up. Like, when Boston wasn't a very good team, and saying that, look, we haven't given him the team yet that he needs. He's a championship level coach. We just need to give him, we just got to give him more time and something's going to happen. Now, I don't think he knew what was going to happen with the championship that they won in 2008. But like that to me that's integrity, because a lot of times you can just throw anyone under the bus when no one's around. And we talk about what people are when the cameras are on versus off. But like, that's the tough thing. Like everybody wants to, especially it's a big thing in media. Like, who takes credit? Well, fuck that credit shit. Who cares? You're winning, you're making money, and you're sort of settled. But like, and then when things go bad, everybody's trying to throw everybody under the bus and it's their fault. It's their fault. It's hard to say who it is, because the GM's got to make the trades. He's got to draft the players. He's got to hire, the front office. And then the coach has to coach those egos every day. The GM doesn't do that. He's got to work with the development of the players. The GM doesn't do that. And he's got to deal with the shit every day. So, those two have a lot in common. It's not like football where the head coach, or American football where the head coach is usually the general manager too, and he makes all the decisions. And the NBA would never have the head coach be the GM, because they're very much like today. They want to win games today for a good reason. They want to keep their job, but they don't. A lot of times, as a GM, you got to make some short-term bad decisions that's going to be great in the long term. And I don't think a lot of head coaches would think like that. I think they would think today. They wouldn't think about minutes with young guys. They wouldn't think about any of that. They're just trying to win games today, understandably so. But like, that's why I think it should be separation a little bit. They got to be together, but they got to be separate. And I don't think you can really track why a team's good, either the general manager or the head coach, because they're both very, very important. And so is the owner, obviously, cutting all the checks with what's going on as well.
Yeah, I wonder, that brings up an interesting point, that I wonder if teams would look towards giving GMs longer contracts. Like, let's say instead of 5 years, 15 million, you give them 10 years at 20 million or something like that. Just, I wonder if there'll be a mindset around like, hey, this guy's our guy. We know he's fantastic, but we want him to have an incentive to make sure we're good in 5-6 years rather than just the next year or two. And there's an argument to be made, but there's pros and cons. Obviously, it's harder to fire a guy like that because he's got a longer deal. But maybe we see a shift down the track, because I think the development is something that, like you said, it just gets lost. It's a win now league, but if you've got a roster that isn't win now, and then you're judging your coach and your GM upon wins, it's like you're kind of like setting them up to fail to an extent, because you're just going to be in that constant cycle of, even if you do win, you're going to be a 7, 8, 9, 10 seed. and then, it's just going to end poorly for everyone. So it'll be interesting to see what happens down that line if there are some teams that give GMs what's the longest you've heard, 5 years for a GM these days?
Yeah, like 5 or 6. Yeah, for sure. And I know the head coach is 3.5 years basically for the tenure with a team. But like GMs, I haven't studied that, so I don't know. But I know a lot of GMs keep their jobs for a long time.
Much longer, yeah.
A long time.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. But I never really think about who's like. I hate when players like they talk about whose team it is, and I hate when they say like who's the number one factor, the GM or the coach. I just think everybody's together, and once you start thinking like that and chasing credit, because there are a lot of people in this business that love to chase credit and love to pat themselves in the back. That's a slippery slope. I don't even like to think about that shit.
And then it's on top of that, you got the GMs that form like a big three or get 3 of the best players in the league. Like, I mean, to me, you need to get the pieces around them to be successful. But if you're Brooklyn and you're that GM, I doubt the job was too hard. They all wanted to come together and play. You know what I mean? So you do need,
and that's luck.
Yeah, and like, okay, there's an argument that you got to move cap space and you got to make the money available. You might need to go to your owner and ask him, beg him to go over the cap. But sometimes as GMs get credit. It's like shit. Like you get 3 of the best players in the league, you should be first, if not second, every season. Like, that's not a GM move. You just got lucky that 3 players wanted to come together in Brooklyn or Miami or whoever it was, and you put it together. But that can be a long conversation. The East, we'll move on to the Eastern Conference. 5th seed is 1 game over 500. It's the closest it's been for a long time. I mean, from basically, like we said, Atlanta's still theoretically in the mix, but it's been interesting to watch. Like we potted the Celtics last week, and they've won 3 or 4 in a row, and now they're in 4th. And they were 9th when we spoke about this 4 or 5 days ago. So it's been interesting watching the East.
Yeah, it is. In Boston, like I said last week, and people who rush to judgment, because there's a lot of people in Boston that want to make changes and with Danny Ainge and with Brad Stevens, and that's just like, you can't react like that. Look, they've got 2 of the best young players. Like, those 2 guys are very good. They got them signed for a long time. They got a coach who's solid, and they've got good pieces around them. With Marcus Smart being out, and he's their best defender by far, and then Kemba Walker coming back late with a knee, you just got to give the team time. Look, are they the 86 Celtics and their automatic championship? Hell no. But what they are is a solid team that could probably get into the top 3, in the East. And then who knows what happens in the playoffs. But like, by this herky-jerky, like they're struggling a little bit and want to throw everybody, off the side and say, yeah, we got to blow this thing up. This guy's got to get fired. We got to trade this guy. Like, that's not, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to trade Jaylen Brown. You're going to trade Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum's a top 15 player. Jaylen Brown's an all-star, top 30 player. Like, and then you got some good pieces around. Like, just like, relax. It's just it's a long season. It's a long season. It's like we talked about.
They'll be fine in the long run. It was just that they definitely did slump for a good 3 to 4 weeks.
For sure.
And I didn't think it was the end of the world for them, to the point where you need to make a trade or fire a coach. It was just a matter of what the hell's going on down there. But you look at the East right now, I'm looking at the standings, and Detroit, who are in dead last, are 6.5 games away from 10th. And they could essentially, go on a streak, and I doubt they will, but I'm just talking about it, man. Like, Washington and Cleveland are both 3 games out of the 10, 2.5 games out of the 10. It's just a crazy, basically from, what would you say, from 4th to 14th is still kind of wide open. The Celtics are 19.
It is, and Orlando's solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, Orlando's not bad. They're solid. I don't think Cleveland's going to sort of, because they're probably going to dump Drummond at some point. And you saw that, Griffin went to, Brooklyn, but they're going to probably dump Drummond at some point. It's probably not going to be for an equal player. It's probably going to be, a salary dump or some picks. So they'll probably drop out of it. I think Washington's very much alive. Atlanta's much alive. I don't know what's going to go on in Chicago, but they've been battling pretty hard. Toronto's had a couple of people infected in staff, infected with corona. So, they took a little bit of a hit, but they're okay. Miami, after taking a nosedive early in the year, is done. Now they're back to 500. It's pretty interesting. And Brooklyn is absolutely rolling, especially when those guys are healthy. Even with they played Dallas and what they have, just James Harden, and they stayed in it. For a long time, they stayed in it until the end. But those three guys they're together. They're tough to stop. And then you add Griffin to the mix. We'll talk about that later. But they're going to be a tough one to Philly, because that'll be a tough matchup for Philly, because they could go small and stretch the floor, make shots, pass. And they're so tough on offense. It's a tough deal.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be fun to watch. I mean, the one team I've enjoyed watching is the Charlotte Hornets. I think they've overachieved already, in my opinion. I know we're halfway through the year and just before All-Star, but I think they're starting to look solid. They've got some good pieces. They're currently sitting in 7th, but as we said, they could lose 3 in a row and end up down near 11th or 12th. But I like the way they play. They move the ball well. I think LaMelo's having a fantastic year for a rookie. He is the rookie of the year. There's no doubt about that. Moving the ball well. They've got great shooters spaced around him. Biyombo's doing a good job playing with ball out of those pick and rolls and get some easy dunks and being a defensive force at the other end. So, that was a roster I thought would be down towards the bottom. Hayward's had a good year, just can't stay healthy, but has had a good year so far. So I've enjoyed watching them. What about yourself?
I do as well. Look, it was a head scratcher at first with, Ball not starting, but they were bringing him off the bench and he was playing plenty of minutes. But, they've got good pieces. Michael doesn't really overspend on the team, and which puts him in pretty good positions to sort of make some moves and things. But they got solid players. They're getting good play from Hayward. Rozier's been solid for them. Devontae Graham's been good. Ball's been excellent. Now he's stepping in, starting more games. Bridges plays hard, and they've got good role players. And they don't have any great players on it, but I think in today's game, you can go far, in the regular season and make a little bit of a push in the first round by having players spread out, 8 or 9 solid rotation, have a really good player in Hayward. And then you get these young guys that are good and they're running around, they're spacing the floor, they're driving it, and they're playing good basketball. Yeah, they're a tough team, and they're fun to, like you said, they're fun to watch. It's hard to find NBA teams that are fun to watch. Not counting great players that you could watch on a team, but collectively, that it's not just jacking up shots all the time and just trying to play that style. They're fun to watch because the ball moves. It's not watching one guy, 4 guys doing their taxes by one guy dribbling around. It's actually it's fun to watch. Like you said, it's they're a good team. They're solid. They did a good job assembling that squad.
Yeah, fun to watch. I hope I think they're one or two pieces away from doing damage in the playoffs. Like you said, MJ keeps a lot of cap space, so that'll be fun. Fun to see if they can get one more piece, maybe a big that can do a little bit more for him. They'll have genuinely have a chance to do something. But moving back to a political slight, LeBron James, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, a little bit of a public spout there, which I thought was interesting, just based on some comments that I'd seen. So for those that aren't familiar, Zlatan basically just came out and said something along the lines of LeBron should stick to sports. I don't like athletes that talk about politics. Now, I disagree with Zlatan there. I think you should be able to be free to talk about whatever you're passionate about, whether it be politics, your hobby, whatever it is. I disagree there, but I picked up a bit of hypocrisy from LeBron. So I will play this clip and then we'll discuss it a little bit at length. So here goes that.
Platform to continue to shed light on everything that may be going on, not only in my community, but around the this country and around the world. So, if there's no reason, I won't say no reason, but there's no way I will ever just stick to sports, because I understand how, how this platform and how powerful my voice is.
So LeBron basically discussing that, his voice is very powerful, which it is, both in the basketball world, the world of celebrity, social issues, political issues. The reason why I had an issue with his comments saying that he stands up for things and he'll speak out about injustices, the thing that he included in this quote was not only in this country but around the world. So We remember about a year or two ago, Daryl Morey made some comments about China. Well, not about China, just basically said free Hong Kong. And these were LeBron's quotes back then. I don't want to get into a verbal feud with Daryl Morey, but I believe he wasn't educated on the situation at hand and he spoke. So many people could have been harmed, not only financially. I find it funny personally that he listed financially as the first thing there. Financially, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Just be careful what we tweet and say and what we do, even though, yes, we do have a freedom of speech, but there can be a lot of negative that comes with that. And then he further said it was just his belief about the comments when it comes to tweeting about Hong Kong and the protesters. I believe he was either misinformed or not really educated on the situation. And if he was, then so be it. I have no idea, but that is just my belief, because when you say things or do things, if you are doing it and you know that people can be affected by it and families and individuals, you need to watch what you say. So I just see that as blatant hypocrisy, in my opinion. I see that as a Nike pay for play advertisement. If LeBron's I think he does fantastic things for his community. He set up a school over there in Ohio where he's from. I'm not taking anything away from that. He's done a great job with that. But there's a bit of hypocrisy. If you're going to come out and say that you speak up for all injustices around the world, that there was clear, and there still is clear injustices happening over in China and Hong Kong with that relationship. There's the Uyghurs in China that there is a few issues around, and it's a toxic environment over there at times. You know, it's a very, very it's a government that doesn't allow a lot of free speech and a lot of things to be said about the government. But yeah, I just think there was a little bit of hypocrisy there, Pro. Would you agree?
Well, I always say in real life, forget about sports, in real life as well, more importantly, everybody's sort of self-righteous and everybody wants to follow rules until it's, up to them to follow the rule or to live by what they say. And yeah, I mean, if you're going to say you're defending everything around the world and then there's something that comes up in your wheelhouse, you got to speak on it. And it's going to bite you in the ass sometimes. And it's going to be, you're going to have make some hard decisions. But if you really want to dedicate your life to doing that, because he's got such a big voice, he's probably got one of the biggest voices in the world,
easily
of all time in athletes. And if you're going to do that, then yeah, you got to stick up for everything, and then you got to say, you know what, this is going to hurt, but it's for the betterment of the world. It's for the betterment of the situation. And it's tough when you say that. And, yeah, I read the comments back and forth with the no politics with the soccer player, that said what he said. And, they'll always throw the shut up and dribble thing back at you. No, I'm not going to shut up and dribble. And, so a lot of people just don't want to hear the politics versus sports. Like they think sports, it's a divide. Like people say, well, no, sports, they should have politics, use their message and their brand to spread that. And then there's the side that says, wait a minute, no, people use sports as just sort of a release and to get away from all that and just to sort of root for their team or just watch the games. And yeah, it's tough because when you say things like, I'm looking for everything in the world, and then things pop up that you're supposed to speak on, and then you sort of sit back.
Well,
especially when it comes
to... You double down to call a guy that I assume is pretty well read in Daryl Morey. I don't think he's a dumb guy by any means. You basically called him misinformed and uneducated and didn't read about the situation. And then the first thing you list is it's going to cost people financially. I'm like, yeah, you've got a lot of business dealings in China. Nike's called you and said, play this down. The league said, shit, we make a lot of money. Your max contract is 30-40% paid from China. We need to play this down. And that's hypocrisy. Like, you're either standing up for human rights, not just in your own community, but around the world when it can affect your bottom line in your pocket, or you're not. Like, there's no real in between. And I think you just, like you said, you got to be careful. If you're going to put yourself out there and do all that, then make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, not picking and choosing when it affects you. And that's what shits me a little bit. I'm in the middle politically when it comes to politics in sports, and I think we've discussed this at length. When you're in a game, getting an interview during a game where someone's watching football, basketball, golf, I don't really think politics should be the forefront of that interview, whether it's like, hey, how did you play today? Hey, I just want to, discuss this. Well, I think that's a bit much to me. But outside of that game, on your social media platform, even when you're doing a bit of media, I've got no issue with it. If you want to promote, social causes that are close to your heart, political parties, whatever you want to do, there's pros and cons to it. You got to be aware. You'll probably get some rhetoric because you're going to be dividing your fans. But I've got no issue with that in your own time and using your own brand to do it. But I think when it's that 2 hours of the game, I think, let people get lost in the emotions of the basketball game rather than hearing, the same old story of what we hear on news channels and our friends and family talking about 24/7, right?
Yeah, agree.
Agree. Beautiful. That was easy.
Yeah, I gave you one.
Well, we're going to get to fact or fake news. So we had it first as essentially Blake Griffin sign with Brooklyn, but that's apparently going to happen. So that's now going to be put into fact or fake news, Pro. Blake Griffin will be the last piece in the Nets winning an NBA championship this season.
I think that they're going to be, I say it's fake news, but I think that he will get them he'll get them a lot closer. You watch that team, they need players off the bench that could really help them. Now, his game sort of became a little prehistoric overnight, sort of like with Al Jefferson and some of these other guys, because of the 3-point shots and the way the game's played. But he is another talented guy that you could throw out there. You could play him at center. You could play small ball. I would probably bring him off the bench. I think they're going to get closer. I still don't think they're good enough to win it, but damn, they're close. I say fake news.
So who's beating them in the East? No, you think they come out of the East, though?
I think they come out of the East. I just don't think they'll be good enough to win. I don't think they'll be good enough to win, to beat. I still think the Lakers will win coming out of the West.
Yeah, I think, fake news. I've got someone from the West. I like the Lakers still, once Davis is healthy, but I think Blake Griffin adds a lot more than people think. I think he's not going to be this 3-point threat or anything like that. He can knock it down, feet set wide open, but he's a huge lob threat for those guys. And James, they've got DeAndre down there as well. DeAndre's moving a bit slower these days, but James is James and Kyrie, even KD to an extent, but James and Kyrie especially, they're really good lob passes. So you all of a sudden start sending some pin downs with Blake and Kyrie coming off that thing, or even just pick and rolls and Blake rolling hard. I think it puts you in a bind because Blake's one of those guys that when he's rolling, you need to be below him at all times, kind of with body contact. If he gets ahead of steam and he's kind of side by side with you, that lob's been thrown up at the square and you're running backwards. You're not catching that. So it'll then end up being 1 through 5 switches where then Blake has a huge advantage to offensive rebounds. So I like the move. I think it was a no-brainer. They're thin with bigs anyway. They had Jeff Green playing the 5 at times. So I think it's a big win for him, but fake news as far as winning a championship for now.
The problem is he hasn't really been that high flyer in the last year or so. So that's the thing, like the lobs and stuff. Like it's not, people think Blake Griffin, they think the lob city with LA. Because of injuries and being banged up, he hasn't been that high flyer. He's been a back you down from the 3-point line type of player, and being a post-up guy. I do agree with you with the 1-5 switches, being able to post up and offensive rebound. I think that, the lob threat stuff, I think they'll help him with scoring off the bench because I think you keep Joe Harris in there to have 4 shooters out there on the floor with, Irving, Harden, Harris, and Durant, and then just have another scorer, rebounder, tough guy to back up. But that's just me. But I think he'll fit in real well there. I just don't think they have enough.
I'll be interested to see actually with the lob. Like now that you don't have to play him on the ball, he doesn't have to, be taxed to be their number 1-2 option. I wonder if that magic potion in the knees comes back where he's a bit more fresh. So that'll be interesting to watch. And we can have a check in on that in about 4 or 5 weeks time and see who was right. But I got a feeling he might find a little bit of juice in those old legs.
You think he'll go down to Miami like LeBron did and just sort of work out for 4 days and come back like he's 20?
That's that sunshine in South Beach, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I needed that when I was about 26. I should have went down there. Kristaps Porzingis will be a Dallas Maverick past the trade deadline. Fact or fake news?
I think fact. I think he will be. I think the one thing about Chris, I think they'll probably shop like most teams would, just shopping and to see what they can get. I just don't think what they're going to get back is a lot better than what he is right now for them. And I think he hasn't really been healthy. You got to roll with it. Although they got 10 back-to-backs in the second half of the season. I think you roll with them because I just don't think you're going to get back a lot of things. It's either going to be, if you look at it, he's like the 24th highest paid player in the league. Is at around $29 million. And if you look at the players that are up there right around salary wise, there's not a lot of players that you would really covet that would actually be available. You could go through the NBA trade machine all you want, but you got to have trades that make sense. I don't think they're going to find a trade that they like. Like you could probably get Tobias Harris, or you could probably get someone like that, or, Kevin Love, or, Kyle Lowry, which you wouldn't take anyway because of Luka. You're not going to get Joel Embiid. You're not going to get Damian Lillard. You're not going to get a great player. You might get, you'll probably just get a salary dump and a couple of good role players, or the really good players in the top 30. I just don't think you're going to get. So I think it's going to be tough for him to finish his contract there. I think they will move him at some point. I don't think they're going to move him by trade deadline.
Fact, yeah, I agree. I don't think if you're moving him, what are you getting back? Are you really moving the needle that much unless they, somehow package it up with some other players and get involved in some sort of super trade with a few other teams? I just don't see, them getting back equal value or someone better. So he has been banged up injury-wise. He hasn't played the best, especially defensively. He's looked really out of sorts defensively, especially because they switch 1 through 5 a lot, and he just gets strung out. And having I think the one game against Golden State, they really punished him on those 1-5 switches to just get in the basket, getting by him. He just wasn't moving his feet well. But hopefully this All-Star break helps him, and I believe he'll remain a Maverick. The last one, after making the coaching change, the Atlanta Hawks will make the playoffs. Fact or fake news? Fact.
They'll make the playoffs. They're real close now. I think their veterans are going to get better. They're going to get healthy. They're missing a lot, with their injuries that they've had in this season. I think that, I think that they'll be fine. It's just going to take some time. I think their style of play is going to improve, and I think those veterans are going to really make a big difference. And DeAndre Hunter, which is probably a big surprise for them. I mean, he played really well in the 18 games that he played. He averaged 17 and 5, and he shot the shit out of the ball considering where he was. He shot 36% from 3, which he's never been a shooter before. I think Nate McMillan, his influence there. I think regardless if he made the coaching change or not, they would have made the playoffs, especially with the 10 teams that are going to make it. I think it's fact. I think they'll make the playoffs.
Fact, just based on the 10, the top 10 is technically making the playoffs. If it was the 8, I'd probably be fake news. But yeah, because they've got the top 10, the last 2 spots, I think fact. So we'll see how that goes. One thing I want to touch on that I didn't have on the run sheet, I'm going to blindside you a little bit. You've been following this this NBA Top Shot kind of phase.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Yeah, what the fuck? I read Ethan Strauss's thing on The Athletic. I've actually was conversing with some players in my own group chat with my boys back at home. I don't understand it. I sort of understand it. You got all these video clips that you basically pay for. They only release a certain amount on a player, just like a trading card, and you buy it, and then people make offers to you for it. The prices could fluctuate. But here's the thing, and I know it's probably old school type of thinking, but these video clips you can get anywhere. You can get them on YouTube. You can get them on NBA.com stats. You can get them anywhere. So it's not like private stuff that you can't see. There was a Langston Galloway 3-point shot up top for $4,000.
$4,000. Yeah, one of my a mutual contact or friend has bought mine. I think it was a behind the back pass to Steph for 3, and I'm like, man, I don't think that was the best investment. But no, I didn't understand the Bitcoin craze 10 years ago, and now I do, and I'm long. I like Bitcoin. I have some Bitcoin. I think it's unique in its own way because the way they've set it up is there's only a limited number of things, right? So I reached out to a few friends of mine that are Bitcoiners and asked them about Top Shot because I saw some similarities there. It's online. It's kind of becoming it's online form of basketball currency essentially, and their thoughts were nothing like Bitcoin. One of the sticking points was it's not rare. It's just it's flooding the market with a lot of things that you can already get, and I guess that's are we those old dudes that just don't get it maybe, but there's nothing proprietary about it. I think it, like you said, you can log on to Instagram or YouTube and find that exact highlight. I'm a touch and feel guy in the nicest possible way when it comes to cards, nothing else, of course. But I like, if I collect something, I like having it on my shelf or being able to see it, touch and feel it, right? But there is an argument that the new age generation aren't about touch and feel. We see that with department stores. A lot of electronic stores now closing because you can just order it on Amazon. You don't like it, you can send it back for free. So who knows where it goes, but I just can't wrap my head around paying for something that you can, like you said, you can just log on and see for free. And even if you can trade it, yeah, I mean, I can save it in my camera roll and we can trade it that way if you really want to, and it'll be for free, right?
I mean, we're in bizarro world anyway. Did you see where a Luka Doncic rookie card sold for $3.5 million?
Did it really?
It's just nuts.
That's crazy.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's like back in the day, I collected basketball cards and baseball cards throughout my whole childhood.
Yep.
And like you heard about Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth baseball players, like their card was worth like $40,000 or $50,000. And then you would think, okay, these cards might be able to, like the Michael Jordan rookie is worth about, in top condition, you see it going for $100,000. Then you see it going for $400,000. Then you see some of it going for $20,000. There's no rhyme or reason sometimes with these cards, but $3.5 million, for a basketball card is ridiculous. But again, maybe it does make sense. I talked to an NBA player that knows a couple of NBA players, teammates of his that are invested in it, in Top Shot. And they said it makes sense to them. They're active on it. They love it. But like you said, it's not like something, like if they put out a video, like a Bitcoin version of a card, right? Like a photo, a card, and they were selling them for this, and it's unique. Then I'll be like, okay, I might be able to roll with that. But when you're selling highlights that you can get anywhere, and like I could see if LeBron James goes for $25,000, $50,000, $100,000, whatever it's going to go. I can't see it, but just say it did. But no offense to Langston Galloway, but $4,000. That's the same equivalent for getting a $9 for a topless picture of me. Like why the fuck would anybody pay for it? Like I just don't understand it. But like I said, I mean, I think the highest, and I could be wrong on this, but the highest bid is like $250,000 for one of the clips. Imagine paying $250,000 for something that my 6-year-old, 7-year-old could look up on her YouTube. Like, I just don't understand it. But like I said, I mean, it might be legit. I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, unless they, down the track, they have exclusive videos that, you can only see if you have the card. But then I guess, how do you know what you're trading for? It's just an interesting one. I mean, it's blown up. It's gone crazy. It shows you how important.
Yeah, it's great for the basketball related income though. BRI for the players, because they get a percentage of that. They'll get, whatever their cut is, it's 53%. I remember getting the ad in my social media about Top Shot. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, there's no way. Again, me being a moron that I am, like, what? How can you make money at this? And now it's like the biggest trend. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Sorry, I cut you off there, Bogues. What you're saying? If
we were in the room where we got pitched that idea, I don't think we would have invested. Like, imagine, hey, we're selling highlights. Like, okay. I mean, kudos to them if they make money, but they're making money apparently, and it's gone for gangbusters. But does it ride the wave, or is it just another fad that lasts for a year or two and then people forget about it? But that's a pretty expensive, like you said, it's a pretty expensive hobby if this goes wayside.
No doubt.
All right, moving on to Q&A. First one off the bat, my question for you for the next basketball pod is about sneaker contracts outside of the well-publicized signature shoe deals. What does the average NBA player get for a shoe deal? Does the 12th man even get one? And what are your general stipulations of the deal? Thanks for reading. It's from Joel. Didn't say where he was from, but Joel from somewhere in the world. So, yeah, usually the top 2 or 3 players on your team will have a pretty lucrative shoe contract. So it could be anywhere from 5 years, 50 million. If you're, a big name like KD, LeBron, 5 years, 100 million, whatever it is. And it could be, if you're a second tier star, it could be 5 years, 5 million. So that's generally how that goes. And then the further down the totem pole you get, there's some players that might get cash and product. There's some players that might get product. And there's some players that struggle to even get a shoe deal that might be getting shoes from a veteran player. So usually if you're, a LeBron or a KD and you can basically ask for whatever you want, those guys, for the most part, should and will look after the 11, 12, 13, 14th guys on the roster that don't have a shoe deal and be like, hey, man, I'll tell the equipment manager, take care of him, whatever he needs, put it on my account because they get it for free anyway. But I've been on both sides. Out of college, I had a pretty big shoe deal, which was pretty lucrative and gave me access to any Nike stuff I wanted for friends and family and myself and whatnot, and some cash. And then towards kind of the end, it was less money and I kept the kind of the same amount of contra or apparel. And then, towards the end of my career, the way I was moving, they didn't want me in their shit anyway. So it was interesting. But it's different for everyone. It has changed a lot. I think back in the day, sneaker companies would basically give everyone a contract, whereas they got smart now and realized there's only one or two guys a team, if that are moving the needle for our marketing. Back in the day, they would also sometimes, I guess they'd sign guys to stop them being the face of another brand, which is interesting. So there was some bidding wars where Nike might say, well, let's say whoever it is, Dame Lillard right now is a free agent. We want to sign him to get him away from Adidas or Adidas, and we're not going to really use him. We're going to sign and stash him, if that makes sense, just so no one else can use him. So that shit happens as well. I've seen that firsthand where a couple of companies and players get frustrated because they're like, hey man, I'm not on any billboards, I'm not being marketed, and you could kind of read between the lines you were signed so another brand couldn't use you and they're just going to put you behind KD and LeBron, but have you in the family. And that's where it gets interesting. Have you seen any interesting takes with shoes, Pro?
Yeah, I did. From people that I know at Nike tell me that the majority of the players in the NBA probably get $25,000 or less for their shoe deal. There aren't many players that actually sell shoes. If I had to guess off the top of my head, big time shoe sales players, LeBron, KD, Luka is
Kyrie.
Probably getting to that point.
Yeah.
Curry.
And Kyrie.
Giannis. Yeah, Giannis, I'm not sure. Kyrie, a big one. Damian probably does well on the Adidas side. Paul George. But there's really not many players that sell shoes. I remember the Nike guy, I talked to a Nike guy about 24 years ago, actually. And I was asking him about Tim Duncan just left Nike to go to Adidas. And I asked, and I was like, what's the deal? And he's like, well, the average shoe probably sells about, I think the number was about 50,000. And he goes, his shoes sold about 20 to 25,000 pairs, and just big men don't sell. So I remember when we drafted Al Jefferson in Boston, he's like a late lottery pick, and he didn't really have a shoe deal. So I called somebody at Nike, and they actually sent me the contract, and they offered him $30,000, and they would give him $30,000. They would give him $10,000 in gear, $30,000 cash. And what they do is they incentivate, and they put incentives in the deal where if you're an all-star, it's a $100,000 bonus. If you make the rookie game, the rookie sophomore game, it's $50,000 to $100,000. If you're an MVP, it's $200,000. So you could if you play a lot of minutes, points, rebounds, assists, if it averages out to this, if it's 27 to 32, your points, assists, and rebounds added up, you can you'll get this bonus. So most of these contracts are gear, low cash gear and incentive based. And then the big time guys, LeBron, KD, Kawhi probably makes a lot at New Balance. Luka, probably makes a ton at Jordan. I'm not sure if Anthony Davis makes killing, but he probably makes a lot from Nike. But most of these deals, the top heavy guys, top 15 players, and there's only a few of those guys that actually sell shoes. And then the rest of the guys are getting $25,000. A lot of them don't even get money; they just get gear only. So they're cut like you said, Bogues. They're cutting back, extensively with what they spend on players. They'll spend a little bit if you're a high draft pick, but again, they'll base it based on incentives. And then your next deal is usually your big deal, unless you're a LeBron James off the bat, or KD off the bat, where they're going to try to woo you right away.
Yeah, no doubt. And it is very incentive based. That's how my contract was structured towards the end. So I got a bonus for like going to an Olympics and stuff like that, because the way they see it is you play those big events and you're wearing their stuff, even though you're not a big time star, you're still wearing their stuff, so it gets seen. But yeah, the big dogs, the big superstars have eaten up all the money, and it's similar in the NBA with player contracts. Like the max guys are eating up most of the money, and everyone else is left fighting for the scraps. So that's
$12 million if you made $12 million if you made 2 free throws in a row.
That'd be a tough one. That'd be a tough one. 3, I'd get 20.
I get you.
Next one, Bogues and Pro, massive ups for the podcast. To say that honesty is refreshing doesn't begin to do it justice. Can't bring myself to listen to any other dog shit ones anymore. Got a bit of an old-fashioned pub debate for you. This is an NBL one Pro, so you might not be able to chime in. But with the Jack Jumpers, which is the new Tasmanian franchise coming into the NBL next season, pretend you're tasked with putting together their roster for next season. Give us your 5 Aussie players that you're targeting, poaching, and why. Also throw out some realistic import options for a laugh. Cheers. Keep up the good work. Matt from Geraldton. So for me, I'm going after 2 guys that aren't even imports. Matt Dellavedova, if he's ready to come back to Australia, which could be on the cards from what I hear, with his health issues and whatnot, probably could do better with a lighter schedule. He will try to obviously stay in the NBA if he can, but it could be an option. I'd go after him, throw the house at him, and Nick Kay would be my other guy. Really good culture guys. Both of those guys will get your new club on the right page. The problem is, I think Larry owns that team still, so he's writing the checks, and he needs to front up a pretty big briefcase for those 2 guys. As far as imports go, who knows who's out there? Bryce Cotton's a free agent in a couple of years. That'd be a potential target. But I think Nick Kay and Dellavedova, and then just filling in some role players. I like guys like, Clint Steindl's towards the end of his career, a really good shooter. Even Chris Goulding, who's a potential free agent the next couple of years, I think maybe even next season, who's with Melbourne United. He's got some Tasmanian influence. I think he might have been born there and lived there at a very young age. So that'd be my guys. But Nick Kay and Matt Dellavedova, I'd go after both of those guys. I think if you even get just one of them, you're in pretty good stead culturally. So, Pro, you don't have to answer that one. We'll go on to the next one. Hey guys, I'm Charlie from Ballarat. Absolutely loving the podcast. Question for Andrew and Mike. I remember you on the project. So the Project Pro is like a talk show, kind of political, half comedy talk show that tries to make it fun. It's on like 7 o'clock at night. Carrie Bickmore questioned you about checking out celebrities you see at the games, to which you replied, I don't really care. I would rather hang out with the working class, which I really love.
Oh boy.
Anyway, did that type of attitude make you an outcast in the NBA? So it didn't? No, not really. I just did my own thing. I wasn't really a guy that enjoyed going to celeb parties. I got invited to some of them, Playboy Mansion and all that fun stuff. I just never really cared about going to those things because I just felt like it was so fake. It wasn't a let your hair down type event. It was a look at me, look who I'm with, look what I drive, look how much money I have, look at my watch. And I have some of those nice things, I'm not going to lie, but I'm not about kind of interacting with people based on that. So I felt it was real shallow, and I kind of stayed away from it. And I don't know if you remember, Pro, but I'd hang out with I'd hang out with you a lot when I was in Dallas and the coaches. I just enjoyed hanging out with kind of what would be perceived as the regular Joes of the NBA, assistant coaches and trainers and masseuses and those kind of people for the most part, just because it was just more, I felt it was more genuine at times. Not to say there aren't NBA players that are genuine, but I just wasn't into the whole going to the hottest nightclub in town, the hottest restaurant and having my face seen. I just wanted to get a good meal with good people where I could talk shit, and Pro was one of those people.
Yeah. I remember you, me, Harrison, we would go out a little bit, and sometimes it's better, to go out with just like, regular guys that are just going to talk shit, be real. I saw some of those like interactions not all of them, but like interactions between NBA players and like, big celebrities. And it's like the celebrity just wants to be seen with the player just wants to be seen with the celebrity. They don't have a lot to talk about, and it's just sort of like an awkward deal anyway. And then you don't really get good conversation. It's not real. It's it's usually not great.
Hey man, how's your family? Everything good? You good? How's your family? Oh yeah, how's your family again? Yeah, you good? All right, man. See you next time. That's the conversation.
Yeah, it's literally Groundhog Day. And the whole conversation, it's like 20 like. It's on like a 30-second loop, going on for 3 hours. But I don't know. It is what it is. I like the regular people I'm not a big celebrity guy. Like, I don't like hanging out with, I just like hanging out with regular people. But it's different, man. I'm a fucking nobody. You're an NBA player. Your sort of options were a little different than mine, what I could have done. But give me an IHOP or a Sonic, and I'll be all right. I don't need to be hanging out with you fools at 3 o'clock in the morning at some club.
Yeah, I mean, each to their own. But yeah, that was kind of. I grew up obviously in the working class as well, so that would be kind of to answer your question, Charlie, that would be why I kind of like coming home and just being a relative nobody. I felt like a nobody with those people or an everyday person. I didn't feel like I was Andrew Bogut, the basketball player, when I came home. So I really appreciated that at times because, the bubble that you're in the NBA can kind of fool you at times. But next one, not exactly a basketball fan, but follow you for your no bullshit attitude and your political views. Have been loving the podcasts, and I wondered if you had been kicked out of the 2004 Olympic team by Basketball Australia, you said you would have stopped playing for Australia. Would that have been it from national team duties, or would you have sought to represent the Croatian national team throughout your career? Cheers, Tom from Adelaide. So, Pro, in my journey, episode 5, I spoke about kind of a run-in I had with a player on the court during a game, during the Olympics, and then there was a bit of backlash after that because I was 19 and hot-headed and whatnot, and I thought I was going to get booted at one point. I didn't.
Shocker.
And I mentioned that I had a kind of a chip on my shoulder with basketball in Australia as a game and as development, and never was in kind of the good teams, always was labelled as a hothead and whatnot. So I kind of always had a sour taste in my mouth with the game here and the way it was ran. And yeah, I kind of mentioned that, look, if I was booted off that team, God knows what could happen. I was young and dumb at that point, very emotional, very aggressive. So yeah, I probably would have went crazy and rogue and done some stupid things that I regretted. And it could, most likely would have been the last time I played for my country, which would have really hurt me down the line when I really thought about it. But you know how you are when you're young and stupid. You make decisions that aren't probably the smartest and you're not thinking straight. And thankfully that didn't happen. And Basketball Australia, saw the light. And the reason why I reference this question is because we now see this with Ben Simmons. It's a similar thing that's happened where he didn't make the 2014 World Championship team. He was one of the last cuts because he was still young, emotional. I guess the coach thought, look, I'd rather have a guy that's 12th man on the roster that's not going to cause me issues. We don't really know if Ben's capable of being a role player right now as a young kid, because he obviously wants to play, which you commend him for, but he's the man on all the teams he's been on. So as a coach, he made the decision, I'm going to sign a veteran that will buy into 0 minutes if needed. And that's proved to be a huge factor for the national team because Ben Simmons has not suited up since then. And, there is a conversation sometimes around young talent with national teams and sometimes playing the long game. And we now have a similar situation, funnily enough. We have a really good import here by the name of Bryce Cotton, plays for the Perth Wildcats. And he's rumoured to be naturalised within the next 2 or 3 months and could potentially play for our national team coming, mid 2021 with the Australian Boomers in Japan for the Olympics. But there's another kid named Matisse Thybulle who's a naturalised Australian as well. Per FIBA rules, I believe you can only have one naturalised player on your team for whatever country you are. You can have one naturalised guy because otherwise some countries will stack their team with Americans that are naturalised. So the question is, do you put in Bryce Cotton, who's he's a gunner, he can score, he can get you a bucket, similar to Patty Mills' role, so kind of similar to that extent, or do you put in Thybulle? And my no-brainer for me is Thybulle. Bryce is a fantastic player. He's the best import in the NBL, probably the best scorer in the NBL right now by far. I don't think you want to alienate a young kid that's going to give you 10 to 15 years. I think Bryce is late 20s, I believe. So, maybe it gives you 1 or 2 good campaigns. So this is a prime example of a strategic move that you need to make where even if you think Bryce is the better fit and can give you a little bit more, I think you have to take Thybulle where he can help, but for longevity in the long game. What do you think, Pro?
Well, the first thing I would do is talk to the kid and say, look, here's what we're doing. I mean, here's the situation that we're in. How would you feel about if we did make this move? First off, not that we're going to make it, but we need to know what you think. This is really important. Obviously this guy could really help us. You could help us as well. We want you in the future for sure. Maybe you don't have that conversation because you're going to blow it right there, but I would probably feel it out first and have a face-to-face. I know how important it is on national team stuff. I know how important they take it. I know how trying to be in a position, putting yourself in a position to medal is, it goes a long way, for country pride, for just ego, for national pride, for international pride. And it's not an easy decision, but you want those young players to stay in your program for a long time. But here's another thing, Bogues. What if you do make this decision, Cotton's out, he's in, and then he decides, to blow it off because he doesn't want to get hurt or injured. Maybe he doesn't do it this time, but maybe he does it in another event. Maybe he does it down the line. I mean, I don't know. It's hard because, again, national team is such a sensitive subject, and being in position. If Cotton's going to put you in position, because I know Bryce, he played at Providence. He's a hell of a player, especially internationally. It'll be tough for me, to be honest, to make that decision. I don't think it's a no-brainer, but you're closer to the situation than I am. I would probably talk to the kid first, but I would probably take the guy that's going to help me right now, because the kid might get pissed for a year, but I think you have a long time to try to mend that relationship. But I don't think you do it without talking to the kid first. I think you talk to him and you feel him out, and you tell him how important he is.
To cut you off, the kid's not going to say, "I'm not going to play for you ever again" in that meeting. He's not going to say, "Fuck that, it's bullshit." So I'm looking at more when you look at Ben Simmons and using that as a relative example. It's been 7 years since he's played for our national team. So, you look at that and you're like, oof, like, let's say, Ben Simmons is the best Australian basketball in the world right now.
Sure.
Thibault would be top 5 best Australian right now, and can catch, be the clear number 2 to Ben. So do you run that risk of alienating a guy like that? Because I just don't believe, you sit him down and you say, well, look, Bryce, we'll get a bit more out of Bryce because we need that scoring punch, but you'll be there for the next campaign. The kid's going to say, great, thank you, I appreciate it. And then you're going to get an invite next year and he might not play for 6 years like Ben. That's kind of my case study for it. I'm not saying he'd do that, but I think as a whole, it could be a strategic play to kind of solidify him for your national team for 10 or 15 years.
How do you think they're going to do, Bogues, in your opinion? How with or without this kid? I'm saying, how do you think the Australian team's going to have forget about COVID and all that. I'm just saying, basketball, pure basketball, how do you think they're going to fare in the next Olympics?
Well, they're going to suck because I'm not playing. Come on, bro.
No shit. No doubt.
I think they'll be fine.
No doubt about it.
I think they'll be fine. I think the international game, we're right there with anybody, but the room for error is so small. It's not a 7-game series, not a 5-game series, not a 3-game series. It's one game can completely fuck you over for the whole tournament. And that's the beauty of international basketball, whether you like it or not. And that's why the US is beatable, because they can have a game where they foul trouble, injury, they can't throw the ball in an ocean, right? And they can't hit a 3-ball, whatever. Yeah. So that's the beauty of it. And our room for error is as small as anybody's, but I think we're right there. We're a top 4 team, as per the rankings say. I think we're 3rd right now. So I think we have an opportunity, but it's going to take a lot of buying. We need a young guy to step up. I think a Jock Landale who's playing really well right now in the NBL. It's going to take a guy like that to give us a bit more than our younger guys have given us the last couple of years, it's welcoming someone, but you still got the good mix of Paddy. Joey's having a great year. Aaron Baines has been down a little bit, hasn't played a lot in and out of the lineup. He's up and down like a yo-yo, so hopefully he can get some form. But it's going to go as far as essentially Paddy's the main scorer, Joey's playmaking, and Aaron Baines' ability to be that workhorse inside. Delly's going to play some vital minutes. Can and will Ben play? That's the other conversation we have. Where does he fit in? Does that then move Dellavedova to the bench? Because I don't think you can play Delly and Ben together, because it takes away from...
No.
So you're probably going to have to start Ben at the 1/4 man when it gets to half-court offense, where he's in the dunker and playing inside a little bit. Because internationally, you think it's bad in the NBA picking on guys that can't shoot. And internationally, it's even worse.
God, yeah.
Because there's no defensive 3 seconds, right? So you can literally just stand on the basket. So they got to figure that out, which is why I don't believe Delly will start next to him. I don't think that lineup will work. The way I see, if I had to pick a starting lineup and everyone played, you'd have Ben, you'd have Paddy, you'd have Joey. You'd have Baines, and that 4 spot's the one that's open for me. Jock Landale, I think will probably get that 4 spot, but then you factor in Thibault, who can play the 3-4. I mean, I like our squad.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's well balanced. It can be a 1 through 5 switching team at times, but like I said, it's that knife's edge of, one bad game, which we had in 2016. We had one bad game in the semis, which would have got us to the gold medal game, and I think we had 16 points at halftime. Like, we just could not score. Like, the game was basically over. It was 40-16 or something, and they smacked us. Serbia did.
Yeah, and that's the thing too with Bryce Cotton versus Thibault, right? Like the shooting and he, like, imagine him and Patty on the court together. It'll be a tough thing. I'm always where, like, especially if a guy's early in his career, that you might miss out on one Olympics, but like, if this is your time, and like your guys right now, 4 years from now, a lot of the guys that would make an impact now won't make an impact in 4 years. And like may not even matter next Olympics. Where if you could do it now and you can get Bryce Cotton, I'd probably do Cotton and take the chance at, say, trying to get this kid back and maybe have to miss an Olympics. But it's probably, to me, worth it. But you got a hell of a squad, and I always like watching Australia because it's tough, it's entertaining. There's always, it's good basketball. The ball moves. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, in worst case, if you don't take Fireball, you just fire the coach and blame him for it. Just say, hey, man,
shit, isn't that what it is?
Yeah, we wanted you.
Coach picked on me.
Yeah, we wanted you, but the coach didn't want to pick you. We told him to pick you. You might salvage that relationship to that. We'll see how that goes. I'm excited to see how they go at Olympics. So it'll be a fun thing to watch. Next one, we have, hey Bogues, firstly, huge fan of the podcast and pro, great storytellers. Question is, over your basketball career, how did you deal with the low times and when you were out with an injury, but when you were feeling fit and healthy, but the form consistency just wasn't there? I imagine it must be fairly hard, as well as in your profession, you're under a microscope, so pulling yourself up could be even harder. How important is mental strength? And that's from Daza Chan in Hong Kong. So hope everything's going well in Hong Kong. Great question. Nice. A lot of a pro athlete's career, a lot of basketball career, a lot of the battle is mental, especially when you've dealt with injury. Like I have, I think bouncing back from that at times, I did a fantastic job. At times I didn't. At times I struggled. At times I, would come back from a broken ankle or an arm and be overthinking how sore and how painful it is and flexibility and all my touch isn't there. And then it messes with your head. It's just human nature. So had to kind of rework and rewire your brain at times with that. And that's just a part of the battle. Some guys don't really go through it at all like that. Some guys, it can end your career. I've seen it in players' careers. The mental battle was lost and they just retired or sailed off into the sunset. So yeah, I think it is very, very hard. We are under a microscope. I think the hardest part with an injury, especially when it happens in season, I struggled with in-season injuries or missing time in season, is because everyone's asking, like, what's going on? When are you back? When are you back? What's going on? The media is kind of, we heard it's improved. We heard it's there's been a setback, and then that just adds pressure on your rehab. Whereas I think I felt way better rehab and stuff in the off season, where I could just lock myself in the gym, physio, trainer, cold tub, weight room, and just go by my own time and get my body right. Whereas in season, you always felt like, I want to come back tomorrow. And that's kind of a mindset that can somewhat hurt you. And that's why you sometimes see players, not a lot of them do it for that reason. A lot of them do it to just get away and just do their own thing, but just to disconnect from the team a little bit for your own mental well-being, because it is a dog-eat-dog world, and sometimes even your own teammates are questioning, shit, is he really that hurt, man? How is he not back? I had that ankle sprain, it took me 2 weeks, or vice versa. So the mental battle, pro, I think is what would you, percentage scale, what would you factor it as being vital in the NBA?
I'd say 85 to 90, because I think with the medical teams in the NBA, they probably get you right. And unless you're an unskilled player that is 100% physical, and then you microfracture or something like that, God forbid, and you can't, you don't have that athletic ability, and then everything else goes to shit. Most players, it's a mental thing. They don't like it. They're used to playing at mostly 100%. And then if they can't do the things they can do, and it takes some time, they're out of the lineup, it takes a lot of mental toll, because a lot of players don't deal with that adversity, especially physical, up to that point. And it's a new thing. And, other players might have success that were below them in the depth chart, and now they're playing really well, and now they have to come back, and they got to deal with it. And look, no player has fun playing in pain. Even after a surgery or after a rehab, and it still hurts. It's a mental thing, and you got to deal with it, and it's not easy. And then the million other things you got to deal with. I would say it's mostly mental. It's a really tough thing. Like you said, there's a million people asking you questions. There are whispers about, hey, is this guy really hurt versus if this guy's not really hurt. I always thought it was funny when a couple of different guys would get hurt. One guy will be like, oh man, he's battling through. He's fine. I mean, I don't know. And then another guy gets hurt and will be like, yeah, he's faking. He ain't fucking hurt. I'm like, wait a minute. You just told me this guy's like the fucking gladiator, and he's like battling through. But this guy has an injury, legit supposedly, and I would assume it is. And now you're fucking telling me he's faking. Now there are players that sort of milk it, no question. But it is a mental hurdle that not a lot, especially if you're just facing adversity for the first time. Like your first major injury, Bogues, that must have been devastating for you because you probably never had to deal with something like that.
No, yeah, definitely. And well, I've been on record saying it was my career year. So it was, my arrow was going up from my rookie year. It was like, I think I was 9-7 my rookie year. Then I was 14-10. And then I was averaging double 3-4 straight seasons. And then 2009-10, it felt like everything just came together with my game. I started to be much more consistent on a nightly basis. Was really learning how to defend. Like everything just felt like, it's finally clicking together, right? And then bang, that happened, and that was, it was essentially a 12-month setback to get back to decent basketball, and then another probably 2 years all up just to get a relative decent amount of flexibility to shoot the ball. But yeah, it's just an interesting one. What percentage, I guess, of the game, injuries aside, do you think is mental these days with at least the NBA or professional sports?
I would say the game's 80% mental because it's so close, Bogues. Like you see so many great players with great talent, not even great players, but players with great talent that mentally just can't put it together. They don't have the work ethic. They are uncoachable. They are injury prone. They've got some wart that they can't get over. And it's usually an upbringing thing. It's usually like hard to coach. It's usually had a circle of people that never said no to him. And now you got to try to deal with that when he gets into the NBA and he's not as good as you think. Because there are so many players we drafted or took in Dallas or other places that had unbelievable talent, but couldn't get places on time. Was awful teammates, awful off the court, always getting in trouble. Like it's a mental thing. And that's why, man, I was so lucky to work with like Kobe and be around a Dirk, and because those guys mentally were so above and beyond everyone else when it comes to dealing with pressure, being prepared, doing the things that they need to do, and being, just being an overall good pro. And that's hard, man. You see so many people that can't get jobs, like you see it, like guys coming in the league, you see that they went to 3 high schools and 3 colleges and fired their agent 3 times before they even got to their first training camp. And they're going to be a fucking problem. Yeah. But they got this unbelievable talent. And I think the game is about 80% mental because all these guys are good. In the NBA level, I would say out of 450 NBA players, I'd say, not everyone's great, don't get me wrong, but I would say there's 410 people that are actual NBA players that like are at another level. The last 40, give or take, but like, and then like separating the 110th player from the 45th player is probably that mental edge. It's probably just working a little harder or being a little more coachable or, just getting it. But yeah, I would say it's about 80% mental. What do you think, Bogues? You've been around a lot of different situations.
Yeah, I think the talent, I guess all teams think that, you've got a knucklehead that's super talented and we can weed out the mental thing. I mean, I think it's almost, the opposite at times. I think the mental thing's an underrated problem and an underrated skill. So I think it, if you don't have that mental toughness, not only from playing basketball or bouncing back from injury, but handling things off the court, women are throwing themselves at you, family members asking for money. That's all part of the mental toughness, right? That can eat at you at times. And that's what people don't understand. There's a lot more than just the mental toughness of like, hitting a big shot at the end of the game, he's mentally tough. It's like, no, It's all the other shit you got to block out along the way. So, I'd put it at 75, 80% for sure. But it's just always an interesting debate with the mental toughness stuff. Moving on to the next final question. We kind of answered half of this one already, but which current NBL players have the game and athletic ability to play in the NBA? We've talked about Justinian Jessup as someone who will at some point make it, and other candidates are next stars like Josh Giddey, bigs like Jock Landale, Isaac Humphries, anyone else catch your eye. And then his second part of the question was regarding Bryce Cotton getting his citizenship and Matisse Thybulle. So we've already answered that one, Chris Anderson, so circle back if you want to hear that again. But I guess the guys with the athleticism, I mean, Jock Landale would have been an NBA player. He would have been a fringe guy somewhere. The COVID thing threw a spanner in the works for everything and everyone. He, in my opinion, should be on an NBA roster. I think he still has some work to do defensively, and I try to help him with that as much as possible. I think that's his one weakness, but he's really working hard. He's a kid that texts me sometimes, you watch a game, what should I be doing? And he'll get better at that. But look, he's shooting the three ball, I think, at 40% this season in the NBL. He's not a volume three-point shooter, but he'll go 1 for 2, 2 for 3, feet set wide open, can knock it down, does a great job. What really I like about him is he's not the most athletic guy. His athletic abilities, serviceable. He runs his ass off every possession. They played New Zealand, they have this kid in New Zealand, a veteran. I forgot his first name. Last name's Iverson. Big white kid, but big, solid, well put together. Looks like he just came off a farm somewhere. But I mean, like the first 4 possessions, like Jock's taken off, make or miss. He's the first one down the court. And this poor big kid, man, every time there was a stoppage, he's on his knees and he's sucking air, man. So Jock does a real good job.
Bogues, hold on. No, hold on. He's texting me right now. Pro, what should I do in my next game? Defensively, force your man towards the court decal. Done. All right. All set.
Yes. Yeah, we ran over that one, actually. I was on the run sheet. We can touch back on that. But yeah, Larry Kesselman might be sending you a cease and desist right now. But yeah, to answer your question, Jock Landale's my guy. I think he'll be the next guy from the NBL. Josh Giddey's almost there. He still has a little bit of work to do, but I love his game. Really high basketball IQ. They'd be the two obvious guys. Isaac Humphries has been there. Didn't really get a good stint in the NBA. Played well in the G League, so maybe he'll go back to that route. But yeah, I'd go Jock and Giddey. But we will go back on the details.
I'd say Ryan Prokhorov.
Yeah,
Prokhorov. And my guy. And then who's not bad? Who I could see like playing in Houston as like their 14th guy or something is Tyler Harvey.
He's a bucket, man.
Could shoot the shit out of it.
Shooting logo threes here, like it's nothing. Yeah, he's with the Illawarra Hawks and flops a little bit too much and draws a lot of fouls that way. So he'll fit in well in the NBA.
Yeah,
he gets to the line. He's a bucket. I like his game. I think they've really done well. I think the Sydney Kings, were looking at him, but Illawarra got him over the line. So kudos to them. He's having a phenomenal year, and they've turned their...
And another guy, that other question, well, I'm sorry, Bogues, but when we're talking about imports that you might look at, I would look at Yogi Ferrell, to be honest with you, to bring over. Yogi sort of like had a good NBA career, sort of having a hard time getting back in and sticking in. If I was a NBL team that had some, had that, what's sort of the highest paid position a normal NBL team would have, like 300, 350, 200?
Well, yeah, it depends if you're talking on the books or off, I guess, these days. But yeah, I mean, USD, 300-400 USD. So
I would at least look. I'm not saying. I'm sure a Chinese team, if he's not going to go to the NBA, like a Chinese team or a European team might offer him something. But that's the guy I'd sort of be looking at. But I don't know. Just threw it out there. I'm sorry.
He reminds me of Casper Ware a little bit, who we have with Sydney. Same kind of body physique, same kind of game. And I played with Yogi that year in Dallas when I was with you. So yeah, I mean, I like his game if he's willing to come over. And the problem is, a lot of European teams can offer a few more numbers on that contract.
No doubt.
It's a matter of, are you going to get it? So just one of those things. But going back to the decals, I'm going to touch on it real quick. I ran over it. Still an issue. They have now gone back to last year's decals. I've received word. They're going to go back to last year's decals and try those out. So now they're obviously, admitting there's a problem, but they're not. It's still a shit show. We've still got guys slipping all over the place. I don't know if you followed my feeds, Pro, but the NBL had emailed.
Oh, that kid? Yeah.
No. The NBL had emailed all clubs and officials internally and said, if anyone else comments on the decals, it'll be a fine. So it's been a huge issue over here because, it's a health and work safety issue where now a lot of players had voiced their concerns on social media, even as far as posting clips of them falling over. The NBL has now said they will fine guys for doing that. That has now led to the major sponsor with the Sydney Kings, or Bryden's lawyers, who get this, bro. So Bryden's lawyers they're a law firm that, it's basically a law firm that if you hurt yourself, you go to them and they'll chase up someone to pay you for your fall or whatever. And they're our decal at Kings games. They've got a decal on the floor. Bryden's lawyers. They've reached out to us, to Sydney Kings, and said, we don't want our logo on the floor anymore. We're still going to pay the same for sponsorship, but this is a health and safety issue. We're removing that. We want that decal removed, and we just want regular flooring there. We'll pay for that space to be empty. So that's a huge precedent set by Bryden's lawyers. I wonder if any other sponsors out there are going to follow suit, but that's massive, and I think they're far above beyond the duty of call and doing more than the actual league itself is doing. So, like I've said, God forbid someone does their knee, someone does their ankle. There's an issue with the decals. It needs to be changed. I don't think putting last year's on is going to fix much, and I will continue to watch the space, but it's becoming a national story within itself, and Larry is the owner of the league. He's adamant. He's dug his heels in and said, I'm not removing the decals under any costs. So I will watch that space because it is an interesting one.
Yeah, maybe the law firm of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe would sort of come in and try to save things.
Who? Sorry?
It was a joke. It was Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, the law firm.
We might have to edit that one out. Okay, finishing off with story time. I'm going to let you owe us one because you took a roster day off last week. What do you got for us?
All right, so I was working with Tim Grover, and we had Kwame Brown as a client, and as usual, I like to fuck with all our guys, and it was the best job I ever had in basketball. It was fantastic. And we were in this little gym before we got the big place, and literally the weight room that Grover had to deal with in his gym before the big one was probably like, at best, was like 150 square feet. It was a box. And in the storage room where we had all the drinks and stuff, we had a refrigerator stocked with anything you want to drink. So Kwame, after every workout, said he wanted a caffeine fix. So he goes, yo, dog, I need my caffeine fix. Get me a Sprite. And my eyes lit up because there's no caffeine in Sprite. And Grover knew I was going to fuck with him. He goes, no, Mike, because we just got him. And he was afraid that he would probably quit in a week, if we were fucking with him like that. He said, you got to wait a couple of weeks before you mess with him. So I said, all right, I'm not going to say a word. I guarantee, I promise. So at every workout he would have, I would bring the Sprite out of the refrigerator and point it where it says caffeine free, right staring him in the face. It's I got your caffeine fix for you, dog. Drink up. Every day for about 3 weeks, and then I sort of just stopped it. And all the players would just crack the fuck up because everybody knew there was no caffeine in Sprite. So
because they used to have that.
I don't know.
They used to have that big wording on it that said caffeine free too, right?
I would turn it where that wording would be right in front of him. And I just don't think he even noticed whatever. Hey, look, I like a good Sprite 8 or 9 times a day. I get it. But I sort of know that there's no caffeine in it. But yeah, so I like to play that little trick on Kwame. But he was a good dude, man. He was a good client.
Well, Kwame, funnily enough, my marketing people early on in my career worked with Kwame as well. And he was... she told me a story. The lady told me a story that they were getting him suits, right? Like a nice suit and tie. He had 4 or 5 sets of it, right? So he'd do some appearances. He was the number 1 pick, so he had a lot of hoopla around him when he came into the league before he played a game. So he was doing appearances and whatever. And then I guess she called him and said, "You got another appearance here." Comes, picks him up, and is like, "Where's your suit? Why haven't you need to wear a suit for this?" He goes, "I got none left." And she's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, I got no suits left. Where are the ones we got you? "Oh yeah, they're upstairs in my apartment." So he would wear them once and didn't know you had to get them dry cleaned, and would just he had a pile in the corner of his apartment. I mean, you kind of feel bad, man, for the kid because I didn't know a whole lot about wearing suits growing up. So when I got to the league, I needed a lot of help. I was wearing kind of, white socks with black shoes, doing all kinds of dumb shit. I didn't know. I knew how to tie a tie from my Catholic school days, but that was it. Like, I didn't know anything about fashion and lapels and all that shit. So yeah, the poor kid would just he had a pile of clothes like mountain high sitting in the corner of his room. Just would wear them once and just throw them there,
Remember in high school though, like, and that's the thing that people don't understand when these high school kids come to the NBA. And, how much of a culture shock it is, like, as far as, like, dealing with your everyday stuff. Oh. Because in high school, your mom and dad's usually doing most of the stuff for you. Like, I'm not even talking about an athlete. I'm just talking about a normal human being. So it's like you get to the NBA and then you got practices and games and all this and all this. Sometimes, you go to McDonald's, you get a burger, but you have no fucking idea how the burger gets made in the back. And that's the same thing in real life. Like, you have no idea, like, what it took for somebody to clean that suit, or your mom or dad to do your laundry for you, or to do these things for you. Kwame was it was after he was, it's probably like his second deal. I think he was with the Lakers when we had him, and he was a great dude. But yeah, I could see a lot of high school kids, like we had Al Jefferson, and it took him a while, Kendrick Perkins. It takes those guys a while to sort of get acclimated to NBA life. Like, somebody usually walks them through it, veterans, or, their agent finally sets them up with somebody that sort of walks them through some things. But wow.
It was shocking to me, dude. Like coming to the league and then renting an apartment, and it's like, all right, I need bedding, I need bed sheets, I need pillow sheets, I need cutlery, kitchen utensils, I need pots and pans, I need laundry. I was just like, holy shit. Like, I've come from the AIS to college where we didn't do any of that shit. The most you had to do was wash your own basket of washing. That was it. And that was hard. It was hard, man. Like, I flew my mom up once to come help, and you kind of, once you're professional and you're making that money, it's kind of like you're left, hey man, like, you figure it out. And you're like, holy shit. So a lot of agencies will hire someone to live with you for a year, or a PA, and but some guys never figure it out. Some guys do. I know I've got teammates that, I'm not going to shall remain nameless, but a teammate in Golden State that still didn't know how to pay his car registration, and he's 7-8 years in the league, and that's just, some guys don't need to do it because they have the finances to pay someone, and some guys just struggle, with that daily kind of life of everyday bills and all that kind of stuff.
Shit, Bogues, when I was like 27, I was living with Vin Baker, and I barely ever lived away from home to that point. I travel a lot, but I never really lived long periods of time away from home. Italian kid. We never moved out of our mother's house till we were about 47. Yeah. But so, like, I'm living with Vin Baker, and I'm like, my room's a little messy that I was staying in. The NBA's guy, an NBA player's guy, which usually isn't like the most steady person in the world, was telling me that I had to clean my shit up. Imagine like how bad you are in fucking everyday life when an NBA player's guy is telling you that you got to fucking clean the shit up. So I sort of learned a lot that year, but I could have just imagined a high school kid.
No, it's hard. It's hard. Well, my story is similar with cleanliness. So apparently this is from a teammate of mine, Earl Boykins. Back in the day, Chris Birdman Anderson, playing for the Denver Nuggets, apparently living in a high-rise apartment in Denver somewhere, like a luxury apartment. He goes and buys a couple of Rottweilers or Pit Bulls, I can't remember what they were. Buys 2 dogs basically, or 2 or 3 maybe. Anyway, doesn't figure out, I'm going on a road trip in 10 days or 5 days, whatever it is, and it's a week-long road trip. So they go for a road trip, and he's like, shit, who's going to feed my dogs? Don't have all that organized. He goes, all right, I'll just put out a shitload of water and, 7 days worth of food for the dogs.
Oh.
And I should be good. And you're like, he's thinking that this dog's going to know what day it is, and that's the portion for today, and then that's the portion for tomorrow. The fucking dog's going to eat all that shit in one day. Anyway, so I think 3 or 4 days in, they get a call. He gets a call from someone at the apartment, and they're like, hey, something's leaking through your apartment, like through the ceiling. I think there's a leak, whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, just let yourself in, no worries. The dogs had pissed so much in one spot that it was...
Get the fuck
it was leaking to the person below and just dripping down. So they thought there was like a burst pipe, or like, it wasn't a lot, but there's drips coming down every couple of hours. And yeah, Birdman apparently had
oh my God.
7-day road trip. All right, 7 days of food. I'll just spread it in different corners of the apartment, and we'll be right. I'll just come back and everything will be fine. It's like, mate, like, there's going to be shit and piss everywhere first off. they're gonna eat all the food in one day. But it just goes to a learning curve for for old Birdman. Maybe we couldn't nickname him Bird Dog after that, but yeah, Birdman had a bit of a struggle there.
Not going to get a sponsorship with the SPCA, I tell you that.
Peter.
Jesus
Peter.
Yeah, Peter. Yeah, shit.
But,
oh my God, that's a hell of a...
Yeah, I think you figured it out after that. But yeah, imagine being below that dude and just having piss dripping on wherever it was, your dining table or couch or something, thinking it's just water, and it's just some dog pissing on the same spot. But the fun of the NBA. Anyway, Pro, that's our final few minutes. Thanks for joining us again. Episode 11 at Rogue Bogues on all of your social media platforms. Linktree has all the different podcast platforms. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Pro.
Thanks, folks. I'll see you next week.